Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today, let's talk about an interesting concept that I read in Celeste Headlee's book, We Need to Talk. This is the difference between a shift and support response when engaged in a regular conversation. Which one is better and why? First is the shift response. What Headlee means by a shift response is when someone that we're talking to shares a personal piece of information or a story, sometimes we have an instinct to say something about ourselves that relates or matches with the same idea or emotional feeling. She calls this a shift response. Here's an example. I'm so busy right now. Me too. I'm totally overwhelmed. Or, I need new shoes. Yeah, me too. These things are falling apart. Oftentimes, when we hear a person share a need or a story or their state of mind, we want to respond in kind, like, yes, me too. I'm totally with you. I understand what you're feeling. It's a way that we try to generate empathy. However, as Headlee writes, shift responses are a hallmark of conversational narcissism. They help you turn the focus constantly back to yourself. So while Headlee says that it's not ideal when you're building rapport or connection with somebody to consistently shift the focus of the conversation back to yourself, she's not very hard on the reader for that fact. She thinks it's quite normal and instinctive. While reciprocity is an important part of any meaningful conversation, the truth is that shifting the attention to our own experiences is, at its core, a completely natural instinct. Modern humans are hardwired to talk about themselves more than any other topic. She goes on to say, part of this hardwiring lies in a neurological phenomenon known as convergent information. When someone tells us a story, our brain automatically scans our memory for a comparable experience. So when we try to build empathy, we like to try to imagine ourselves in the shoes of the other person. What are they thinking? What are they feeling? And the best way to get to that goal is to scan our memory banks for a experience that relates either informationally or emotionally to what the person just shared with us. However, there might be a better way to continue to build that connection with someone else that doesn't involve shifting the conversational focus back to ourselves and taking our friends out of the conversational spotlight. And that comes in the form of support responses. Here's an example. I'm so busy right now. Why? What do you have to get done? I need new shoes. Oh yeah? What kind are you thinking about? In a support response, rather than shifting the focus of the conversation back to ourselves by trying to share a similar experience in a bid for empathy, support responses try to keep the spotlight on our conversational partner and to show that we're listening well. As Headlee puts it, a support response encourages the other person to continue their story. It lets them know you're listening and interested in hearing more. Now, while Headlee is in clear support of support responses as opposed to shift responses when in a conversation, I think it's important to consider moderation as well. If all we do in a conversation is listen and ask more questions and listen and ask more questions, are we really conversational partners? Or are we newspaper interviewers? Or are we police officers performing an interrogation? I think great conversation does involve at least a degree of back and forth. And if you share nothing of yourself in a conversation, I think that you're missing a golden opportunity to connect. All Headlee is saying is that we should be mindful of our knee-jerk response to respond in kind to another person's story with a story or a fact about ourselves. Rather than doing that immediately, we should question that instinct and instead maybe try to continue to listen and engage and try to explore the other person's feeling or story on a deeper level. Ask questions that ask your conversational partner to share just a little bit more, and it will go a lot farther to building more empathy and connection with the people that you talk to on a day-to-day basis. All right, thank you for listening. I hope that you found this interesting. What questions, what concerns do you have? Please write them down and bring them to class, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, cheers!